Steve Drzdowski here, CTO and co-founder of nuMVC. In our last video, I went through a high-level overview of the nuMVC architecture. Today I'm going to take you through a quick demo showing you how all this stuff works in action. Let's start off with workflows. A workflow is a set of approval steps that need to be completed before an asset is published. Each gray box here represents a different step in the workflow, which is essentially a group of people that need to approve. When we click on one of the boxes, a set of configuration options is displayed. We're able to have a minimum number of approvals needed to complete the step, add a new approver to the step, and also define whether or not the approver is required in order for the step to be completed. As each step meets its minimum requirements, the workflow continues to the next step until there are no more steps to be completed. We also have the ability to reorder the steps if need be. Once workflows have been created, they can be then tied back to templates. So when content is created, a custom workflow can then be executed based on what is contained in the content. As a simple example, let's say we want to start creating biographies for our employees. We first need to create a content template that will define what is contained in a biography. So first, let's add a rich text field which will contain the text of the biography. And we'll also add an image element which will upload the picture of the employee to. Now, depending on who the bio is being created for, different workflows will likely be needed. If you're creating a bio for the CEO of the company, different people will need to approve versus a systems analyst. We're able to do this in the workflow configuration pane. First, let's add our workflow for the executives. Now we can set this workflow up to execute if we find CTO, CEO, or CO in our rich text field. But this might not always be an accurate representation of who the biography is being created for, since these keywords might end up in the bio for other reasons. So let's go back to our rich text elements and add a new attribute. We'll call this attribute title. And when creating the piece of content, the content creator will fill out this attribute. So now we can define what workflow is executed depending on what's entered for this attribute. So we'll go back and add our executive workflow. And then instead of using the rich text, we can now use this title field. We'll say if it equals C-suite, then we'll execute our executive workflow. So we're not always going to be creating workflows for executives. We'll be creating content for other employees as well. So we'll add a standard workflow here, and this will be our default workflow if the executive workflow conditions are not met. Now let's create a piece of content to see it in action. First, we need to load up the content type that we want to use. And after we fill out this metadata, we'll go to our elements pane and create some contents. Now we save our contents, publish the content. Now usually the content will need to go through the workflow before it is published, but the workflow has been disabled for this demo. So now this content is available for distribution, to add to documents, or can be accessed via our APIs. So now let's add this content to a document. We have a document that's already created that's similar to a PowerPoint deck. Let's add a new slide. Let's load up our new piece of content we just created. And now this piece of content is added to the slide, and we can move it around, and we have a new PowerPoint slide. Now, as simple as that, we create a piece of content that can be reused amongst different document types and can also be synced with the organization's digital channels. So now let me show you how the vehicles and channels are configured in the nuMVC system. Remember back to a vehicle being similar to a piece of mail and a channel acting like the mailman. Each vehicle type has a set of configuration options that need to be filled out, similar to an address on an envelope. As you can see on our SharePoint list vehicle here, we have a set of configuration parameters that we must fill out. Now the channels pair these vehicles and assets together and delivers them. We'll open up our website channel here, and under our vehicles pane you can see we have two vehicles configured for this channel, an FTP vehicle and a SharePoint vehicle. And we also have one asset. In this pane we're able to configure what formats our content is delivered in. For our logo asset here, we're able to deliver it in several different formats, and depending on the asset type, different formats will be available. One last feature in nuMVC, and probably one of the more interesting features, is the ability to do reporting. Due to the way we store content and distribute it, we're able to derive some pretty cool information. A quick example is our A/B test report. Let's say you have two company logos and you're trying to figure out which one brings the most value to your organization. You decide to distribute the two versions of your logo on a different set of documents via nuMVC. You can then create a report that will tell you how many times each logo has been viewed. This report then can then be run up against sales data to gain additional insight as to what logo worked best. Under our config pane here, we're able to add different types of reports. Once the reports have been added, additional configuration options are available by clicking on the report. In this example, we can see we have our two different logos and a views graph that will show us the number of views each logo got. Once we are done setting up the configuration, we can then click Run, select how we want to export the report, click Run again, and then we are given a nice little graph here displaying the number of views each of our logo got. With nuMVC, organizations now have a CMS that connects all their disparate systems where their content resides. So instead of worrying about keeping content updated and accurate, they can now concentrate on making sure their content drives value to the business. Let's take, for example, an organization that has a handful of salespeople. These people are creating lots of slide decks containing various information about your organization and clients. Making sure these slide decks follow company brand policy is one thing. Keeping the slides updated and accurate, ensuring your sales force is pitching correct info, is yet another huge hassle. Finding all the locations where these slide decks reside is nearly impossible. With nuMVC, these problems are now solved. Hope you enjoyed this demo showing some of the features available in nuMVC. Get a hold of us via email, Facebook, Twitter, and look out for more videos coming soon. Thanks for your interest in nuMVC, the intelligent content platform.